guys, what's up? It's Lexi, and today I am back with another haunted story time. And I know it's been so freaking long since I've been here. Today's video is going to be about my haunted ass office. I have talked about this a few times in a few different videos. I am going to be retelling some of these experiences with more info, context, some extra backstory. The bulk of this video is going to be stuff that I haven't told you guys and stuff that happened recently. But before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. You can join our spooky fam. We talk everything paranormal, everything supernatural, spiritual, and more. We'll be leaving my playlist up here somewhere down below if you're interested. But anyway, let's just get into it. So I'm a dispatcher. I'm usually in my office by myself all day, and this building that we work in is pretty old. Like, the old owners were there for a while and I was already hired, and then the new owners came, they bought it out, and they just redid everything. But from the moment that I was hired, I felt creeped out in there. Like, it was just unsettling. It just didn't feel right. There's a few characters in the story. The first one's gonna be Ricky. He's my manager. Then it's Jen. She's the old dispatcher. Karina is one of the newer managers. Then there's Emmett. He's one of the drivers, one of my coworkers. Last one is gonna be Vinny, who I talked about in my scary life update. He had been working there for years and years, and he unfortunately passed away. Super quick, I am going to explain a couple things and explain the layout. My desk is right here. My manager's desk is in front of me. My other manager's desk is behind me, and then behind us is the lobby. And then off to the left is those huge offices that the old managers use. About a year or so ago, we used to be able to go in there. And I had said in another video that Vinny would go in there every morning and make us coffee. They locked it down. So now by 2 p.m. it's completely locked down. No one's allowed in there. And in those old offices, there's a kitchen. And then we have our bathroom on our side. And right behind that is their bathroom on their side. Also, I just wanted to quickly mention, when the new owners bought the company, one of the new managers, Karina, she saged the office. And apparently not just anybody's supposed to use sage. Very specific people, Native Americans, only use sage. Not a lot of people know how to use it. It's supposed to clear out all energy in the space, including good energy. Correct me if I'm wrong, this is just what I've heard. Jen and I both told this manager, like, maybe you shouldn't sage in here. It might have set something off, I'm not sure. But while we're on the topic of Karina, one of the weirder things that just happened on Thursday, so today's Sunday. This is something that happened recently and is an experience that is not like the other stuff, so I just wanted to put it in here. So every other Thursday I come in at 10 a.m. and usually every Thursday Karina does not come in. It's her day off. So last Thursday was one of those days I came in at 10, and around noon Emmett, the driver, comes in. He's like, hey, I'm gonna get coffee. What do you and Karina want? And I was like, oh, Karina's not here today. And he's like, well, why was she here in the morning? And I'm like, she wasn't here in the morning. I spoke with her earlier. She's not here. And he's like, well, I saw her this morning. She was in the lobby and I saw her staring out the window. I said hi to her, but she didn't say hi back. I thought she was on the phone, so I left. But that was earlier this morning. Other drivers listening, he's like, well, what if it's Lexi? And I was like, I didn't come in until 10, so it couldn't have been me. But he was dead set. He's like, I saw her. It was for sure Karina. And I'm like, that's super odd, because again, yeah, it couldn't have been me. And I talked to her earlier that day. She was at home. Super random. But this next thing is something that I did talk about in a video. I'm in the office one day, I'm by myself, and I keep seeing something in the corner of my eye. It was over in the office that was locked down, that again, no one's supposed to be in there. I kept seeing something passing by. And then all of a sudden, I see something pass by and it's stopped. So I look over, I see half of someone's body and a head just peeking out from the kitchen, where the kitchen is. So I see something peeking out. It was really dark, like I couldn't see any features, and it looked like it was wearing an orange shirt. As soon as I looked at it, I saw it for a split second and then it went back in. When it went back in, the motion sensor light turned on. And I had said in that video I was pissed off. I was pissed off this day, so I go in there thinking one of the drivers is in there. And I was ready to be like, hey, whoever the fuck you are, you need to get out. I go back in there, of course, no one's back there. I kind of looked around for a second. I'm like, whatever, like I don't have time for this, and I left. So Jen, immediately, she starts telling me that she feels weird in there. Like, she definitely feels a lot of energy. It feels really heavy, but she feels like something's in there, and it fucks with her when she's in there by herself. I start trying to pry. Did something happen? What happened? What did you see? And she's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. So later on, she finally tells me that she saw something. So she saw something in the corner of her eye. She looks over and she sees something peeking just his head where the kitchen is, and it too had an orange shirt on. And as soon as she saw it, it went back in and the light turned on. And she's like, I don't know what that was, but it creeped me out. And I'm like, that's the exact same thing that I saw. So obviously there's something fucking in here. Now I'm gonna introduce Joe Wood. When the old owners were there, they had had a couple of break-ins. They went and bought this wooden dummy, like a statue. They dressed him up in like sheriff's clothes, put a little hat on him, and they sat him in a chair. So when people would be scoping around, they would think that somebody's in there. So he'd be in the lobby with us at all times, and I didn't like him. Jen didn't like him. None of the drivers liked him. He just creeped everyone out. When the new owners came in, they were like, no, we're not gonna keep Joe Wood out here. So the old owners put Joe Wood into their side, like into their office, and kept him near the supply closet. So we still had to go back there sometimes to grab stuff. So this one day I'm with Jen, her and I are talking, and we're talking about the paranormal. And Ricky comes up and he's like, hey, what are you guys talking about? And I was like, we're just talking about, you know, like experiences we've had. And he's like, oh, he was locking up. He was closing for the night, so he was by himself. He was putting all the cleaning supplies back in the closet. He starts walking back there, and he notices how eerie it was back there because of how quiet it was. It was so dark, so dusty, cold. He says that he starts getting a really bad gut feeling. He starts getting really scared, really afraid. He looks over and there's Joe Wood. And as soon as he saw him, he said that the hairs on the back of his neck and all over his arms just stood straight up. And he's like, I have never felt that fucking scared. I was freaked out. And Ricky does not talk about the paranormal. He's not a huge believer. And he starts telling us, like, it felt like somebody was in there. It felt like somebody was back there with me. I had to stop and turn the heater on because it's fucking cold. So the guys have a break room in the back, and it's back there with like the bays for the cars. And they have like a table, some chairs, a fridge, microwave, and they have their own bathroom back there. But for whatever reason, the guys never went back there. They'd always hang out in the lobby with us. So this one day I'm talking to one of my coworkers, and I ask him, like, why don't you ever go back there? And he's like, because it's fucking creepy. It's creepy as fuck, especially at night when you're the only driver back there. It feels weird. Every time they're back there, if it's just one by themselves, they will feel like something is walking back and forth behind them. So they'll just randomly feel like a rush of air, like somebody walked past them. Another thing that they experience is the doors slamming. Like, there'll be no wind. They'll be in there by themselves and the door will just fucking slam. But one of the things that really scared a lot of them was that they'd be back there, they'd go into the bathroom, they'd see that the door would be closed, and they would hear somebody in there. Even though they know that they're the only driver back there, hear somebody in there, they hear him walking, they hear the water running, the toilet flushing. They would hear the paper towel machine go off and off and off like a few different times. And they would hear the paper towels rip. They would hear footsteps, and they'd finally go up and be like, who the fuck is in there? And as soon as they would knock or try to open the door, all the noises would stop and nobody would be in there. And this happened a few different times with a few different drivers who had told me. So this one night, I'm in there by myself. My manager was there too, but he was on a call. One of the drivers was out in the break room, and he comes running in and he's like, oh my fucking God. I'm like, what? And he's like, dude, I just fucking heard a loud ass bang, like a boom. Right after the boom, I heard scream, like a man scream so fucking loud. He said that it was right next to him. It was coming from the bay. If you're sitting in the break room, you can see the bay entirely. He's like, nobody was back there with me. It was just me. But I heard this scream right fucking next to me. I'm like, oh, ooh, that's very creepy. So this one day, I'm hanging out in the lobby, and this driver named Justin, he goes back there, and he's like, wait, so what happened the other day? Did somebody hear somebody scream? And the driver that heard it, he was there. He's like, yeah, I heard a big ass boom, and then I heard a scream, and it came from the bay. No one else was in there. Like, nobody else is in there, and it scared the fuck out of me. And Justin is like, you know somebody died in there, right? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, somebody passed away in there. The way this person passed away was very traumatic. But that alone is really scary, and it's really sad having to relive your trauma again and again. So if you didn't watch my scary life update, it's a few videos back, I had talked about a coworker who'd been working there for years and years named Vinny, who had passed away a few months ago. And of course everybody was really sad about it. It was really unexpected. But right after he passed away, a couple weird things started happening. So I had said that Emmett, he was one of Vinny's like best friends, and they would fuck with each other, they would prank each other, talk shit to each other. They were very close. Well, one of the last jokes, which I use the word joke loosely because I don't think this was funny, when Vinny had gone to the hospital, someone had asked Emmett like, where's Vinny? And Emmett says, oh, he's dead. I remember being like, why the fuck would you say that? You need to stop saying shit like that. And he's like, it's just a joke, I'm just joking. And Ricky, my manager, he's like, just because of you saying that, once something happens to him, he's gonna come back and haunt you. Watch, just watch. Well, a few days later, Emmett's at work. He's on his way to a call. He suddenly feels like the truck is moving up and down. And it feels like someone's on the back of the bed, jumping up and down really hard. He starts freaking out, thinking something's wrong with the truck. So he turns around, he goes back to the yard. He takes the truck back, parks it, and he's like, I'm gonna jump in another truck. The only other truck available was Vinny's truck. Gets in that truck, he starts driving. He's halfway to his call, and the fucking truck just dies. The truck dies. It doesn't start, it doesn't crank, it doesn't make noise, it doesn't light up. This was one of our best trucks. It never gave us issues. Since then, to this day, that truck was never the same. It does not work anymore. Ricky had to come back with another truck and tow him back to the yard. So after all of this, it ended up being Emmett's end of the shift. So he goes to the break room. As he's about to grab the door starts slamming. And again, it's late as fuck at night. He was the last driver. It slams 4 times, stops, and then the door just slowly opens like nothing. And at this point, Emmett's like, what the fuck? Like, that's not a coincidence. Like, all of those things that happened, that's weird. It has to do with Vinny. The next day, Emmett comes to work. Ricky comes in and he tells us that Vinny just passed away. He had passed away the night before. Could that have been a coincidence? Sure, absolutely. But is it weird that all of that stuff happened the night that he passed? Vinny's truck just stopped working and hasn't turned on since. And then the door slamming in his face like that. Especially after Ricky had told Emmett, like, don't fucking joke like that because he's gonna come back and haunt you. I don't know. So after all of that happens, we're still kind of going day by day. The other running joke was that Vinny was gonna come back for me. Like, he's like, oh, he's gonna come back and haunt you, because me and Vinny were very close. So when Vinny first went to the hospital, I had texted him saying, hey, I'm thinking of you, hope you're okay, let me know if you need anything, but just rest. So literally an hour after I found out that Vinny had passed away, I got a text message from Vinny's phone, and it was just a star. It was just a star, like an asterisk. I don't know what that means or why that was sent to me. I just found it kind of weird. So a few days after that, I had said in that last video that him and I were the only ones that got off at 4 o'clock, and we would usually walk to our cars together and would just talk and joke and whatever. So this one day, it's 4 o'clock, I'm about to leave, and I'm getting all my stuff. I'm walking to my car and I start getting a phone call. So I put my stuff down, I start grabbing my phone. I look at the phone and it says Vinny. So Vinny's calling me. And I'm like, what the hell? So I go to answer it. As I go to answer it, the call hangs up. So I go to call back and the phone's disconnected. His phone's already disconnected at that point. I'm like, it was just super strange. So another thing about Vinny, I had said that a year or so ago, we used to be allowed into that office where the old owners are now in. In that kitchen, Vinny used to go in there every morning and he'd make coffee for everybody. After he passed, I would be in there by myself and I would start hearing footsteps in there. I would hear these noises that sounded like somebody was in there making coffee. So I would hear like certain things opening, bottles opening, and then I would hear like the coffee pot being moved from the coffee machine over to the table, over to a glass table in there, and then I would hear it be put back into the machine. So I started hearing that a lot. we got a new dispatcher, and she was the night dispatcher, so she'd be in there from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. She didn't really know about like the break room stuff. She was very new at the time. So she starts telling us that she would be in there, she'd be working late as fuck at night, and she would hear someone in the bathroom. She would hear footsteps in there, she would hear the water running, the flushing, and then she would hear the paper towel machine going off. But then she would hear the tear. She would hear somebody tearing it. Every time she would explain it, that's the biggest thing that would freak her out the most. She's like, I could have thought that any of the other stuff was a coincidence, like the water running, toilet flushing, it's an old building. But as soon as I would hear the tear, that's what would freak her out. That's what was freaking her out the most. A few weeks go by, we don't hear anything, and this one day in the office is just me and Ricky. In the lobby where I had said that some of the guys would hang out, there's couches in there, and Vinny used to hang out back there too. So this one day we're just in there working, we're quiet. I start hearing paper rustling, like somebody's grabbing some papers and like stacking them together. So I start hearing that in the lobby. Again, I look over, I'm like, is someone in there? No one's in there. I sit back down and I start to hear footsteps very quietly and slowly coming into our office and getting closer to my desk. So I'm hearing this, it passes through the doorway of the lobby and our office, and I'm like, Ricky, and he's like, what? I'm like, do you hear that? And he's like, what is it? So he stands up and we both fucking hear the footsteps slowly coming closer and closer to my desk. I'm looking at him and I'm like, do you hear this shit? The footsteps get about 5 feet from me. It stops. I look at him, I'm like, I look back over, I hear one more footstep, and then it stops completely. And we're sitting there just like looking, trying to fucking hear if we hear anything else for a good minute. I'm freaked out. My eyes are tearing. I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck was that? So he's like, Vinny. And he's like, Vinny, you need to go home. If you don't go home, I'm gonna send you a call. I'm gonna make you run a call. You need to go or I'm gonna put you to work. So he starts making kind of a joke. So I start laughing. I calm down. He's like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. And after that, we stopped hearing it. So another time when it was just me and Ricky, same situation. It's just us two. We're super quiet. We're working. And we hear something really loud fall on the floor. And it was pretty loud that we both looked up. We're like, oh my God, what the fuck was that? So I go into the lobby and I see a folder face down on the floor, and every driver had their own folders. I go and I pick it up. Guess whose fucking folder it was that fell? It was Vinny's. Again, I look at Ricky, I'm like, Ricky, come here. And I show him. So again, Ricky's like, Vinny, you need to go home. You have to go. Like, you can't be here. We love you. We miss you, but you have to go. That was so surreal. That felt so surreal. Like, oh my God, that had to be a sign that that was him. So we thought that would be the end of it. After this is when I started seeing things in the corner of my eye, which is still something that happens. So this next thing is another thing that happened last Thursday. So this just happened. I'm working and we were busy. And I was on the radio with one of the guys. I was telling him something. And as I'm talking, my radio cuts out and I start hearing this static noise. And then I start hearing someone talking. It stops and then it sounds like a very distorted version of the Grinch song. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch, again and again. And it was distorted. And it was really loud, like it was static. We heard like in the back. It was fucking weird. It was scary as fuck. And I'm like, just holding the radio, I'm like, so I put the volume down and everyone in there goes quiet and the whole radio goes quiet. The guys are not even supposed to cuss on the radio because we give members rides sometimes. So it definitely wasn't one of them. It was quiet for like a good minute. And then one of the drivers says, did you guys hear that? That was Vinny. You know, that was Vinny saying Merry Christmas to us. I'm like, that is so weird. That's so random that the Grinch song would come on, because he was like kind of Grinchy a little bit. But yeah, so the Grinch thing, and then the thing with Karina where Emmett had seen her, those are the most recent things that happened. They just happened on Thursdays. But that's pretty much everything that's happened. If anything else happens, I'll let you guys know. But again, I thought that this would be a cool video to just put everything all together. Super quick update with what's been going on with me. I'm doing pretty okay right now. I feel like my mental health's like getting to a good place. Reason why I haven't posted is because I was gonna do like a paranormal update because I have a lot of stuff that's been going on, but I also feel like I don't want you guys to get bored. And second, I just feel like dealing with the paranormal when I don't have someone here, since my husband's not here right now, has been so much harder than I thought it would be. For example, one of the last things that happened, I was sleeping and I was knocked out. I just know that I was snoring up a fucking storm. So I'm sleeping and I wake up to something going, hey, right in my fucking ear. Like, hey! It was so loud to the point that when I woke up, I was like, what? And I looked around thinking that it was my husband. So I'm like, what? It scared me so fucking bad. It scared me so fucking bad that I didn't even want to look at my phone. I didn't want to move. I just had the blanket like up to here. And I just laid there. And the only thing that I could think to do was pray. I'm like, oh my God, don't think of anything negative. Think of funny things. And then I started praying. I started praying and praying, trying to calm myself down. After like 2 to 3 minutes, I start calming down. But I was freaked the fuck out. So I'm like, oh my God. I finally go to grab my phone and it's 3:30 in the morning. It's 3:30 in the morning when that happened. Before, I was like semi okay with talking about this stuff in the house because I have my husband and I could always run because I'm a little bitch, as you know. This time it's not so easy because I don't have anybody here. So I think I'm gonna put a pause on the paranormal updates for now. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop forever because I obviously love the paranormal. I love talking about this stuff, but I just can't handle it right now. So what I am gonna do instead is, if I do talk about it, I'm gonna film this stuff either at my mom's house or somewhere else, even in my car like I used to. And I am still looking for someone that can cleanse me and that can cleanse my house, that can cleanse my whole house, cleanse my car, like everything, because it's too much for me right now. Like, my mental health has gone up and down, and the last thing that I need is to be fearful in my house. I don't want to be fearful here. I've been praying a lot more than usual, a lot more than ever before, which I feel like has helped a lot. Another thing that happened not too long ago, I was here, I have my, let me just go grab it, hold on. This in another video, I have a few different rosaries, right? So this one's my favorite. I don't wear it very often. One day I was feeling very scared, very afraid, so I put it on, and while I was walking around, I feel something like tug in the back of my neck, and then I hear something fall to the floor. So I look down and I see that the cross has been ripped off. And I see where the cross went, so I quickly pick it up, I put it in my bag, and I'm like, I'm gonna fix this right away. So I put it in there, I continue doing my chores. Like an hour later, I go back to find the cross, and it's not there. So I haven't been able to find the cross. I don't know where it went. This exact same thing happened to my other rosary. I have 3 in total, and I only have 1 now that has the cross. And the other one, I lost I don't know where it is. So I have been looking for some crucifixes. My mom has a lot in her house, and I feel like most of the time her house is very protected. So I'm looking into that too. But the main thing is me looking for somebody who is gonna cleanse me and cleanse the house. So yeah, I hope you guys like this video, and if there's any particular videos that you guys want to see of me, whether they be story times or something else, whatever you guys want, let me know. I would love to film more for you guys because I really do love doing this, and I've said it in other videos, I am always filming. I do always film. I get to the halfway editing point where I'm almost done, and then I'm like, I hate this video, I don't like it, I don't think it's funny, and I don't want to put it up, and I think it's garbage, so I throw it away, I dispose of it. And I keep doing that. I've done that with like about 3 videos, which is why I didn't film for an entire month. Other than that, hope you guys have a great night and stay safe. I'll see you guys later. Bye.